Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer Coaching. Today, we're going to talk about manipulation. And for those of you that are new or just catching the coaching for the first time, I always like to do a topic every time that we meet, talk about something like a shadow topic. And what better topic than manipulation, right? Because we see it in every single reading. But then after I'd like to do the topic, I'd like to do Q&A if there are people on. Otherwise, I do the oracle reading and we see how the karmic theme shows up within the reading, and then we do more Q&A, and then we end off with a healing modality, because healing the effects of trauma is, to me, it's all about the awareness, learning to have discernment. And you don't have discernment unless you're educated and you know what to look for. And you only know what to look for unless, like I said, you're educated on it. So that's why I like to do a little daily dose of spiritual nutrition. I like to call it just enough. It's not a full class or anything like that, but I would say it's about 10 minutes of 10, 15 minutes of education for you guys. If no one's on, maybe a little bit longer. And then I like to do the oracle reading because, like I said, discernment is your greatest tool. Why even go into a relationship that is going to be toxic? If you can recognize it, then you can stop yourself from actually getting in too deep, because a lot of people think, oh, it's not a big deal, then they're no harm, I can handle it. But you don't realize, after you hear how bad people manipulate and what it actually can do to you on a psychological and physical level, trust me, you wouldn't give your time. I like to talk about the different topics to, again, to educate you, but we see over and over and over again manipulation in relationships. And I wanted to look at how these patterns show up and why they persist and how to shift them for you a lot calmer, so that you can have more real connections. Because understand, a person that's so busy manipulating, they're not taking the time to actually build an actual relationship with you, and you already know that. That's the whole thing. They'll tell you that what you're feeling is not really what you're feeling, and what you're seeing is not what you're feeling, but you know that. And that know is, again, clear cognizance, which is the spirit. It's that God part of self that knows. It's like, you know how you know, but because understand, manipulation hides in plain sight as a pattern of behavior designed to control, undermine, and cohese. So quick signs include chronic criticism and diminishment of your autonomy, really, of your identity. You're not allowed an identity, and that's the whole thing with manipulation. The whole point is that you lose self. So it's really, when a person is able to, not just say things, but they actually label you, right? Like, give you your own, like, label, like, as if you're flawed or irrational, always gaslighting, where they deny or distort your reality, the reality, right, to fit their narrative. So, to make you doubt, it's all to make you doubt your memory or judgment, silencing boundary breaches. I mean, you're not allowed to have boundaries because you're not allowed to have an identity. And dismissiveness, all these things, and interruption. Do you ever date somebody or a friend with someone that you'll be talking and they interrupt you? Everything, it's all about testing your boundaries. That's what it's all about. It's all about that, so that they can see how far that they can push you. and so that, and they do this through giving you conditional love, through ultimatums, where affection is really contingent on your compliance, and withdrawal serves as your punishment. Blame shifting, where they refuse accountability and blame you for the problems they cause. Love bombing, followed by withdrawal. And we talk about this. This is intimate manipulation. And this is a big problem. We're going to talk about it later in a little while, what it actually does to the physical body. It's a cycle of intense attention that suddenly cools, creating dependency and anxiety. So understand a person that continually does that, to create that dependency, and then every time that they leave, it creates anxiety. They're conditioning your nervous system. So you can imagine what it does. Future faking is part of it, with grand promises of a perfect future that never seem to materialize, as like a meaning to secure your compliance. Obviously, you wouldn't stay, and so it's all about isolating and triangulation. So, where they undermine your support network and really are able then to actually pit people against you through shaming and guilt tripping, which makes you feel selfish for asserting your own needs, and quiet manipulation, subtle cues in tone, micro choices, or insinuations that just accumulate over time to steer your behavior without really you becoming aware of it. So you want to really be able to see these tactics, to because they create these taxes obviously to have full power to erode your self-trust within yourself and pressure you to adapt at the expense of your autonomy, which is what I was saying before, which means your identity. Like, you're not allowed to have a soul, you're not allowed to have an opinion, you're not allowed to have, and that's how you know it's manipulation. And I just explained to you how you'll see those patterns. Manipulative behavior arises from a mix of motives. It's not just one thing. Like, a core aim is just power and control, to reduce your identity and increasing the manipulator's influence over your decisions. Insecurity and fear of vulnerability. So you wind up shutting down. Rejection or loss, that's their favorite, can drive them to like wanna control, but then you wind up trying to micromanage your own perceptions and your own reactions, because it's like you begin not to trust yourself. So some patterns are learned. If manipulation was modeled in a person's family through past relationships, it feels like a normal way to handle conflict, and that's the problem. So if it's family karma, and it's all about unmet needs for attention, validation, or safety, just to, again, are some strategies that they try to secure you. So you want to understand what's happening when it's happening, because like you said, they're going to come at you. People that manipulate, they spending all day, all night long, really thinking about how to control you. So you want to spot a pattern versus like an isolated incident. Not every single person is out to manipulate. I mean, sometimes you can be in a healthy relationship and understand that people manipulate. So again, you want to single a harsh word or disagreement does not equal manipulation. Again, the distinction lies in the reoccurrence and the aim, meaning if there is predictability, ongoing pattern intended to shape your behavior, dampen your self-worth and your self-trust, and erode your boundaries, well, then you're looking at manipulation. If it erodes, like if it's an episode rather that occurs rarely, and really it's more of a cause and effect type of dynamic, then it's not manipulation. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't address it. Now, you first always want to name the pattern of what's happening. Okay. Like you can't just like say, oh, you're being manipulated. It's like, how are you being manipulated? And you want to be sure about it. For example, you might say, I notice a pattern where my concerns are dismissed and I feel unheard. This helps externalize the behavior without like it escalating the conflict. You want to keep a brief factual log. Yes, a log. Yes, a journal. And you might say why? Because of you keeping track of the incidents so that they illuminate the frequency and the impact, which supports your decisions about the next step without turning every event into a showdown. That's why. It's like you're keeping the score without, because it's like you see the pattern. It's like, because understand when you're dealing with a manipulative person, they're going to tell you what you saw is not what you saw. They'll use time to blur the lines, per se, that you didn't really see what you see. They'll leave pieces out of their story. But if you have a log, well, it's right there. That's going to be your trusted ally. It's like if you feel like you can't trust your brain, and that's what happens when you deal with a person that like it's all about manipulation. That's why it's dangerous. It's like I've seen people literally stay with people, try to make a relationship work with a person that really never wanted to be in that wanted the relationship, but didn't want to ever step it up to actually be in the relationship. And eventually I saw that person get thrown into the water, the person's ashes, because they died. Because the person was gaslighted so much, and it was like, and treated like they were unworthy, like nothing. And that person was a really beautiful person. They were a nice person. They were a smart person. It wasn't like they were a stupid person. But I call that spiritually sick when you stay in a relationship with someone that is so toxic, and it's like, and is treating you so bad. I mean, this person like had a baby and then went back to work like all day, all night, double shifts as a nurse, like a week after she gave birth to the baby, because that person refused to work, refused to be a partner, refused to, and the manipulation and the gaslighting and that I mean, what it does internally, it erodes your physical body. It doesn't just erode your mind. So that's why I like to do classes on this, to for you to have discernment, so you don't have to discernment rather, so you don't have to be in a relationship with someone before it's too late. Because people, you say, didn't the person see? It's like they're getting bombarded from every single way. Their self-esteem has been like eroded down to nothing, to the point that they don't trust themselves. People have gone, have people that manipulate so bad, they're able to put their spouse away, like in mental institutions, and to set it up where the person's like seems like they're crazy, but they're not crazy. It's a psychological and emotional response when you're having someone gaslight you continuously and making you feel unworthy, making you feel like something's wrong with you. You begin to walk from that level of consciousness where you're going to put up with less, you're going to deal with less, you're going to, and then only to be disposed of. And that's really what the person's power is. There's always going to be punishment. Know that. There's always going to be punishment with a person that manipulates. So it's really important to make sure that, you see things before they escalate, because helping externalize the behavior without escalating like things into conflict is hugely important, because people that are manipulative love drama. You want to always, like I said, keep that log so that it will illuminate the frequency and the impact, which supports your decisions. And you want to set firm boundaries based on those decisions. You want to identify non-negotiables. People like you have to draw the line. Like, so you have to say, what is non-negotiable for you? And you really have to be clear about it. And you take out that journal, and you write what will you put up with? What will you not put up with? People put up with, that with anything because they're not clear about what it is that they'll put up with. You're going to put up with lying, and you're going to put up with, you know that. So you want to be clear in like what you're comfortable with. Like, is it no insults? Is it no gaslighting? Is it like what? And articulate the clear consequences if the boundaries are crossed. And understand, because a lot of times people say, well, they didn't know. Well, it's again that you won't take the person back if you set a clear boundary and then the person deliberately goes and disrespects it. You know, and understand too, why would you even be in a relationship like that? Well, spirit's saying it's like you need to obviously fulfill yourself more with the more support, more love, more more I would say more getting taking care of yourself on more of an emotional and psychological level. Like, what we'll put up with so little. A lot of times we don't realize it. And I say that in a lot of readings. So, we can say do assertive communication, but guess what? If you're dealing with someone that you have already like not held your boundaries to, asserting boundaries is not going to work, because you can communicate till the cows come home. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And so really it's about boundaries. And sometimes if you need to take a break from a person, or you need to like not, like it's not put up with that, because understand it just gets worse. Now, like being being part of a relationship that's extremely codependent, you're going to see a lot of manipulation. Because what you'll see is, if a person is someone that, let's just say, they have a hard time communicating and being transparent, so they're avoidant type nature. Well, part of their survival mechanism was to manipulate, to avoid. So, you have to not you have to put the focus more than on yourself. And that means, why what are you supposed to be learning from the situation? Because once you learn it, you change the dynamic of that connection, because you're connected to that fragmented person because of whatever is needed, the healing within inside of you. And sometimes that's all that a person that's so manipulative comes into your life for. Sometimes there's no other reason. You could say, but I have such a strong connection. Yeah, and that person knows that you have a strong connection. And past life karmic connections are people that you should have learned the lesson within a previous life. You should have learned it even in this life, but that person chose not to. We all have free will. You can't make a person. But connection should not be in exchange for, real grounded, actions where a person really is showing up for you. People will want you to fall for, oh, the connection. Like, you train a person how you want to be treated by how you're treating yourself and what you allow. And that's why Spirit's saying it's like boundary driven self care, prioritize sleep, nutrition, exercise, activities to restore your energy and self esteem, to create the networks that you need to set and enforce boundaries by having hobbies, other interests. If you can't set a boundary, if you're with someone that's so manipulative and you're like, I just can't because they won't let me do it, it's put something in its place, that emotionally you're going to get from. Meaning, if this person, you just have such a strong connection to, and you just can't stay, no, well, if the person's treating you like shit, well, then you emotionally, you're not doing anything for yourself. And that you need to figure out what you'll need to fulfill that space. And everybody needs to to find that within themselves, because everybody has that empty space inside of them, because that empty space is really the connection that we have to God, and we don't have a connection to God unless we are in our purpose, unless we know what our purpose is, unless we're the expression of love, because that's the energy of God, that's the energy of the universe, and unless we're connected to other people in the universe through emotionally, there's nothing. It's like, and that's really what it is. It's that oneness. It's again oneness through unconditional love. That's the emptiness is the shadow. That is the fragmentation based on, yes, experiences, but we're not those experiences. We're supposed to become who we want to see within the world. We get to choose. We're not our parents, we're not our ancestors, we're not the stories of who we tell ourselves. And so, manipulation, when we have somebody that's so toxic, understand it's because they never filled that. They don't know how to fill it. So, they're always looking for something outside of themselves to fill it. And when it's a person, they can't care about your feelings, because that requires them to be have to look at themselves differently, and then they get triggered by abandonment, because on some level they've abandoned themselves by not filling that hole inside of themselves. And so it keeps you in this repetitive thing, so you have to have discernment. That's why it's a spiritual sickness when a person comes into your life and they lie and they manipulate and they gaslight, and it's like, and why a person, when you see they're connected to a narcissist, why they look so bad after a while, because their life force is really being sucked out of them, and it's dangerous. I've seen it firsthand, and it's not pretty. So we're going to jump into the oracle spread now, to now see how manipulation plays out. But within my coaching, I always like to give people education. Discernment is your weapon. Discernment is, again, I see you coming. And it doesn't mean that you won't have feelings for the person. The difference is, you don't need to be with this person. The attachment is that need, where spirit says you don't need anything. You don't only need you. The need, a lot of times, to control, the need to really like have that person treat you a certain way or whatever it is. It's like that people get caught up in. It's like when they're with a connection, you have to say, why does the person stay in a connection like that? Because their self-esteem is diminished. And then what happens is you begin to see that they get physically sick. And then obviously they can't really create much within their life, right? So we look and we see, what is the underlying energy? Cruel, of course. When we're talking about manipulation, right? Let's see what the other one is. Lies and illusions. So unfortunately, I feel like, are you connected to someone? Yes. But do I feel like this person wants to like revenge? Oh, yeah. It's like they're living a lie. And I feel like pretending that they're happy, pretending like it's okay that you guys aren't talking, pretending that, that they might have even gotten the upper hand because they went with someone else. But the truth of the matter is like, you're looking too good. You're looking too happy. You're looking like you're not affected. And it's just not sitting right with this person. So the underlining energy is cruel, unfortunately. And it's because this person has lost control. Why else would a person be cruel, right? It's like there's that real negative energy. So I don't know where I want to look first. I'm like, when the energy is so dark to start off with, it's like, God, usually we at least get a little bit of something. It's like it's just started off with, no, this person was like, is not a nice person. And so I feel like they weren't nice to begin with, when you dealt with them, to be honest with you. Let's see. Well, it's again, this person, like, I feel like you and this person have had a hard time letting go of the past and the fears associated with it. So they manifest in chaos in your relationships. So I'm feeling like this is a past life connection. And that, yes, you grew up in a certain environment or dated somebody that betrayed you. And that fear has always been there. And this person, I feel like, is somebody that comes into relationships and they create chaos over and over and over again. So I feel like there's this karmic cycle that this person gets in and then they get out and they get back in. That's a karmic loop, right? When a person just, they make the same mistake, they just date somebody new. So, like, almost like a narcissist, right? And so, which makes sense because person that's cruel is someone that is a narcissist, where you're like, I feel like this person is like pissed off with me. They are, because you're looking too good, you're looking too happy. And you say again, why did I feel like this is just something that happened. So again, that it's a spiritual connection. And all this person really did is that they excluded you from like everything and tried to make you feel like you were like not, like, invisible, right? Like you didn't even exist. Like this person wanted you to feel like you weren't important. Like you were, like, that there was something like wrong with you almost. And it was like, and everything was always your fault. So everything was always your fault, even though this person was never really around. I keep seeing enough, like this person didn't give you enough, and understand you had enough of their avoidance and just the memory of, like, it wasn't just whatever the trauma was that you lived in the past. Like almost like, I feel like I've gone through this before. Maybe it was somebody else where, again, people try to manipulate and get their way, where I don't feel safe. And the where this person again is like, they come into relationships and they try and dominate and create the control and craziness within the relationship. So it's like one big trigger, and you're like, it just kept happening over and over and over again. that so how that would be is that this person would ignore you, they would gaslight you, they would everything to manipulate, to diminish your self-worth and your sense of being. So you would, give in to them by making you feel lonely, by being in an unfair relationship. It was just their manipulation, like it said, over and over and over again. So we have to say, well, what kind of a spiritual connection was this? Because it doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, so I have this person that, wants to come back and be fucking cruel to me, like, and was cruel the whole time. Like, so the spirit's like, so for sure that you need healing, if that's the case. But we'll see what the person actually thinks on a spiritual level. Understand, they might have feelings. We don't know. Not that it means that you should go back with this person if they're acting like a nasty person. But inquiring minds want to know. They're projecting their own fears onto their fears and limitations onto them, and they don't see it. So that's the thing. This person like has a lot of spiritual blocks. And so unfortunately, from past relationships, so you don't have to do anything. It's like you just showed up and they have feelings for you. And because they have feelings for you, they have to feel vulnerability. They have to be transparent. They have to be, you're requiring them to be a certain way and they have a problem with it. And part of it is, for some, this person can't really fully be there for you as long as there's like a karmic person in the way, and that they know that it's hard, but they feel like they have to go through the experience in order to heal it. you know that's for some. Now, can they leave? They can leave, but do they think that they're saying, oh, I know that? No, what I think it is like, as long as this person is here that I don't really want to be with, but I have to be with, supposedly have to be with. No, they don't have to be with anyone, but they would have to leave the comfort of whatever that it is that they're holding on to for that person. That person, you wouldn't even be in the picture if they didn't have any feeling for you. If feeling is like, I have feeling for you, but I have to be with this person and go through the experience to actually see, like, to be able to determine what's real and what's not, is what I'm feeling. And it's like, again, but codependency. So of course I'm in a codependency relationship. Now this is for some of you. I'm in a codependent relationship with someone that I don't even want to be in a relationship with. I have feelings for you, but I can't be with you. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. So it's like, but I can't be with you the way that you want me to be. However, would I again try to be with you my way? Yes. And that's by diminishing your self worth, by being in an unfair relationship and making it like you don't even exist. Some people actually put up with that. And the fact that this person thought that you would, you have to say, well, intuitively, what made this person? And, like, actually even think anything, you have to ask yourself, this person has had karmic past life connections with you before. Memories are surfacing, and they actually are listening to somebody. So I feel like this person isn't strong within themselves. So they might be asking that karmic. They could be asking, a friends or family, and people that this person can't think for themselves. They're not strong within themselves. They're connected to someone that they don't really want to be with, or, friends or family have too much to say. This person is actually triggered by the connection because they feel like, they're like, sometimes they feel like you're speaking to them in their head, and they want to know, like, how much do you know about them? Like, and that's because they know that when they're doing something wrong. They know that they have a connection. They don't need for you to tell them that they have a connection. It's like they already know that they do. So they have a conscience, and that's what the issue is. It's like this person has a conscience, and their inner child is wounded when their parents couldn't respond to them. So they act they so this is it. They act from that wound. That's the problem. And it's like, so here it is, this relationship that should have felt like this unconditional love. And what did I say? I said that it's like it triggered this person. It affected them. They were like, oh my god. It's like, because, hey, like, you see too much into me, you see inside of my head, and I don't like who I am. So then you're judging me, and if you're judging me, then you're not going to stay with me, because I wouldn't stay with me. This says again that they don't like who they are. And that they don't like who they are if they can't make a decision for themselves, or they're going to ask other people what they should do about their situation. It's like, you don't know how to think for yourself. And who is that person? Oh, that person that I just have to kind of have that person be there. Why? It's like, you don't have control over your life. Again, that pretty much, that's the thing. It's like this person, like, they feel that neither one of you guys are being honest right now. But they're like, why are we both afraid to express ourselves? So this person's like, I have feelings, but I'm afraid to express myself. But why are you? Because I know that you have feelings for me too, but you're holding back from me. And you're like, I'm holding back from you because you're not giving me anything. Again, and where this person, it's like they're not happy. Karmic behaviors, people, or situations. So again, the codependency doesn't need to be the person. This person is actually going through experience. Situation is playing a role in what's happening to them, and it's hard for them to see a way out. So again, remember when I said this person keeps going in like karmic loops, and the karmic loop is like, again, could be betrayal, where they were a player, now they were getting stabbed in the back. They were in a shit relationship, and to get out of a bad relationship, to get back into a relationship, just different people, different characters, sometimes different scenarios, always the same karmic theme. And that's why I felt like this person's like, doesn't like themselves, doesn't trust themselves. And here it is, they have deep connection to you. And instead of them like embracing the connection, they're like acting like an asshole, and they're like pissed off. Like they're in a bad place now. And here it is, you're looking too good over there. You're looking too good. I want to come back into your life, and I want to see how I can manipulate my way in, because it's pissing them off. Because hey, you're like, again, looking too good. And the problem is again, the feelings just overwhelm them, and they become afraid, and they run away because of it. And not just run away, they act like an asshole because of it. And so instead of it, and it's again, they've never had love like this before. The depth of it is inspiring, but it's very overwhelming, because again, all the shit that they need to heal. So that's why it's overwhelming. They have to, be transparent. They have to be real. Like you're going to hold to a standard. You're going to, you get in deep, and it's like this person that can't deal with it, because for a long time they haven't done any healing. Was easier to be that way, and that's the issue. There's a lesson to be learned from this. I don't know if they're smart enough to know that, but I think that spirit that's saying that, that there's clearly a spiritual lesson. And this person wants to know about you, but the bottom line is they want to let their guard down, but they can't. Like fear makes them lash out in self-defense, so they can't help it. So it's like they need healing. So it's like you came into their life and it was real and it was good. And instead of them being able to embrace it for that time, it went the opposite way. And it did, because they need a lot of healing. And it had nothing to do with you. However, like it'll trigger everything with inside of you, like that a person is like cruel. So we'll be like, let's curious, like what do they have planned, like in store to do? Not that it's important, but it's like I'm just curious. like want to come back in and what? And do what? Like pretend that you want a relationship? Like what? Um Well, it's again like the spirit says, well, we see sexual fulfillment, and then we see like just barriers, like them becoming like paralyzed like by the relationship, but just, like putting barriers, unnecessary barriers in their way. And that's again because I think that they can't handle it. I think that they know how they are, okay? They know that they have passion for you. But the thing is, it's like they also know that they can't be in a relationship. And they know that you would want to be in a relationship. So that's kind of cruel. Um, there's a sense of, again, this a lot of passion, but I feel like if you say the wrong thing to this person, they are gonna, there's gonna be a, like, they're gonna say something back, because I feel like they think, well, you would tell them off and you would be accurate about it. This person just figures, well, let me come in and offer romance, right? But then I feel like then this person would do, like, again, two steps forward, two steps back. So, and that's the thing, it's because of their wounds. It has nothing to do. They get in their own way. So it's like I'm going to say I want to be in a relationship, but I know I can't really be in a relationship because I know that I would sabotage the relationship, and I know damn well I don't really want that relationship, and I don't want to do the healing that it takes, but I want what I want. And that's why they would be cruel, is what spirit's saying, because it's like they're playing on the connection. The depth of it is so strong. It's like if they feel it and they feel that way, they know that you feel that. They know that it has means something. Maybe you're going to read into it more, like this is, we're supposed to be together, instead of that there's a lesson to be learned, right? Which is what spirit was saying. No, there's a lesson to be learned. When it's like the chemistry is like that, it's like we wouldn't stick around long enough to like deal with it, but that it's a hard lesson, because you're like, wow, I thought that this person was going to be my twin flame. And spirit saying, hey, Cheryl. So the best thing that you could do with this situation, say, why do I attract this person into my life? You're a mirror of who and what comes into your life, right? So you have to say, what were you supposed to learn? Like, what am I supposed to learn? Like, why would I be with this person? Like, again, that was packaged to be like a good person, but then, is like an angry, like really an angry person, because there's no identity there. There's no, again, it's all about manipulation. And spirit says, oh, look at this. First card out is, oh, no, abuse, but I thought it was this one, which is rage, anger, which is, I felt like that. But we see the abuse here, to me, is like, can be psychological, emotional, and even physical, because you look at this person, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it had to be. We see here neglect. So when we're looking at the inner child wounds, to me, if a parent is really angry, like, and they take out their frustration out on their child, if your parent did that, they were someone that yelled at you and screamed at you and made you feel bad because they were not a happy person, and I say that because I see lies and secrets. We only see lies and secrets in a person's house when there's like, again, they're living a lie. If they're with somebody that's not treating them well, let's just say your dad was cheating, or there was alcoholism, there was drug addiction, there was some like sort of lie, secret that, like compromised the relationship to the point that made that parent rageful, where they were rageful to begin with, and the experience happened. They became even more rageful, and they didn't nurture you. They didn't give to you. If they took out their abuse onto you. And so, again, and part of that was obviously neglect. So having a parent like this, it's like, well, that's a little confusing, because parents are supposed to love. They're supposed to nurture. They're supposed to bring joy, right? And that's not what happened here. What happened is, if anything, your laughter was robbed. You didn't find joy. And also, the big problem was not just even that children go out and play and they have fun, they're full of joy and happiness and play, that was robbed. But you didn't discipline yourself to like create strong roots for yourself. Meaning, like, if your parents didn't give you the love and the nurturing, well, then you're going to go and look for that outside. You're going to get your happiness and your emotional support from friends and from like other things, But Spirit says, people that come from strong roots, what they're doing, they pour themselves into, like, their future, because their parents are encouraging them to say, well, you should get good grades, you should take this class. They're hands on. You were neglected because your parent was pissed off because of whatever the life that they were living that they were not happy with. And as a result, like, that parent put the anger onto you. So growing up in that type of dynamic, you were conditioned to believe or be made felt like you were not lovable, or like maybe you couldn't have love, where that's the illusion, that was the narrative. It's not that you didn't live that and experience that, but that's not a truth. Spirit says there's many different realities that play out at one time. As a child, you had no choice. You would, that this is what I was dealt with. That's what I'm going to live with, because I have no choice. The child will disconnect and they'll detach and disassociate. But now that you're an adult, you're going to get the same type of energy towards you to see if you learn the spiritual lesson, because it was a trauma. Hey, thank you so much. So you have to say, how are you going to heal it? Because that's really the most important thing. Because it's like we can get caught up in the story of what happened, and Spirit says it doesn't really even matter. It's like people get stuck in the story. And so what are you going to do to transmute that negative energy? And Spirit says, go into the unknown. It's like, again, you don't know who you are. It's like you don't know all your options. You don't know what you're deserving of. If you walked into an ice cream store and there was only one flavor of ice cream and you really wanted ice cream, you get that ice cream. But if you went into an ice cream store and they had a bunch of different flavors of ice cream and other things, you'd be like, well, now I have a choice. Now I get to see what I want. And you're able to make a different decision. If you grew up in an environment where the parent was so caught up in whatever was going on, and then your other relationships, again, we wind up being with people that were manipulative and selfish because of what they've gone through within their life. Well, the Spirit's saying, there's more. That's not the only choice. You're like, that's the only choice that I get. And Spirit says, because you need to change. You don't change them, you change you. And you don't know what you want. How would you know what you want until you experience it? Is what Spirit's saying. It's like, you'd be like, I have to go out now. I have to go in. The Spirit says, I know that you're not annoyed that you have to go out and put time and energy into yourself. It's like, I don't have time. I have to work. I'm this. It's just easier to meet someone. Spirit says it's not going to happen like that. You have to, again, let go of who you were to become who you are. And the only way that happens is to release the past. And no one can release the past until there's something in place of it. That's alchemy. It's like you have to, again, put something in its place, which is why you're being, Spirit saying, go out into the world, take a leap of faith. It's, again, it's like it puts you out of your comfort zone. And what'll happen is you'll release the limiting beliefs that no longer serve you. At one time, like having an angry parent that was abusive, well, it was okay to be invisible. It was okay to settle for less. It was okay to put up with certain things. It's not okay to do that now. And Spirit's saying it's like, it's about you, releasing the past so that you can fully transform and realize that everything's happening in divine time. It's not that, like, this person's not going to be the person, but you'll meet the right person, and the right things happen in divine time. You're not behind schedule. No one threw you off track. Spirit says you're divinely protected. This was to learn how to navigate your life with, through difficulties, and with calm and acceptance. Obviously, who the hell wants to accept and be calm dealing with a person that's manipulative? Spirit says you don't have control over your environment. It's again, you only have control over you. And if you grew up in an environment where you were abused and neglected, you didn't have any control over the environment. So the perception might have been, well, it's because of the way I grew up or where I came from, where Spirit's saying it's like, no, it's again, you have no control over the environment. It's where you choose to put your time. It's again, and that's as long as you're disciplining yourself and disciplining yourself in this particular situation. We're talking about loving yourself, giving the time and the energy to you, that you go out into the world, call for exploration to see what your choices and your options are, to see what you like, to see what's going to stir up your soul so that you can meet the right people, so that you're filling your own cup up all the way. So you don't need anyone to come in, but then this way you'd have discernment if a person was going to come in and, you know, lie, be a counterfeit. You can't tell unless your cup is full all the way. It's all part of the journey. Like, understand, it's like your journey of life. It's not the good, bad, it's everything that helps you shape you to help you to become the best version of yourself, not really so you could be with this person. But again, to help you see, like, why are you settling for the same exact thing? That same exact, you can have so much more. And you're like, oh, I don't really know that there's really anything more. Spirit's like, not where you are. It's like that's why you have to go out into the unknown and, call for exploration, like see what it is that's gonna really call call to you again, that you love, that you're passionate about, is what Spirit's saying. It's like then what happens is you begin to feed that, and a way becomes a way from that. And no way. It's just because you're putting your energy there. That's Spirit saying. Um, bring the light from you to the surface to shine. So again, finding light within inside you, and that's to me how, like, who are you? It's like with your essence, putting your that's your time, your energy, your focus, and your money, like all your resources. Where do you channel them? What do you put your time into? And then sharing it with the world is what Spirit's saying. That's what your purpose. With your purpose, you should feel content, like to find your purpose, not like, I don't know what my purpose is. Because again, that's what you're here, because once you shine your light, then you're going to attract the people that are supposed to come into your life, you know? And that Spirit says, don't underestimate your ability to solve any problem, but this problem that you may say, oh, with this person, it's like you'll know exactly what you have to do when you have to do it, that you're not, but because intuitively you'll allow yourself to, find that balance, because there's still feelings, and Spirit says, take time out to, I'd say self-care, breathing, breathing. Again, so maybe then being connected to this person, you were a little bit high, overstimulated a little bit. So Spirit's saying now's the time to to do a little to self-care, and that you should be thinking about your freedom. And that means no relationship right now, just going out and finding yourself. And the reason why is because if you're not fulfilled inside, where you're like really know what your options are and really like know who you are, you're going to still attract people that, are fragmented. But understand everybody is somewhat fragmented, but not to the point where they don't have the an identity. This person didn't have an identity. They literally can't make a decision for themselves. They have to ask people. They have codependency all over in every single thing. And so, they're not happy because codependency means you're not free. It means that you're not free of your life. It's that you're dependent. And here it is, you're free. And so that's why this person wants to come back and kind of like, I don't want to say throw a monkey wrench into it, but they know damn well that they're not ready for a relationship. They know that they can't have a relationship, and they know that they want sexual fulfillment. They want to have a passionate fling with you, and that you're not the type to like have like a surface relationship, and that's really all that they can offer. That's why they would be cruel. And spirit says, so take time out and enjoy your freedom, and understand that's really the revenge that like that this person has to live with. It's like you got away, you got away, you're the one that got away, and they're the ones that aren't happy, and they're not happy because no person is ever going to fill that hole. And that's the thing, you would be in their life, you would just be the next person that fills that hole. The thing is, as long as you're not, they'll always desire you because, hey, you're the one that got away. That's the thing. They're never satisfied. So the best that you can actually have is this, because it's like the want, the desire is still there. 'Cause this person's flippy, and it's because of their blockages. If we're empty inside, then we're always reaching for something to fulfill us, and then it brings us further away from ourselves, and there's karmic consequences for that. And the universe responds to what's on our heart, not to the illusions that we pretend that we are. That's like this person, and they don't understand that. Where spirit says, now you're disciplining yourself, you're on your path, you're learning how to go with the flow. It's all part. You alchemize this energy by having a love affair with yourself. And spirit says, and trust me, the path opens up. Choose you, even though you have faith. You get freedom through faith, because it's like you just know that everything in divine time. And spirit says, in divine time is because you have faith. And that's really what it is. And we leave off with one more, which is manifestation of light. Like, see the beauty in yourself and grow and develop your inner self in harmony with light and beauty. Free yourself from negativity. Your heart transforms, your intellect shines, and your inner light grows. And that's pretty much what it was saying. It's like you have a lot of light. You are bright. But understand, when you're that bright, you're going to get everything. Moths are going to come to you. And so it's up to you to have discernment of the signs of manipulation, because, like I said, person can't come in and get over if you know what to look for. You can't. It's like almost like seeing something that's so horrible and then trying to unsee it. You just can't do it. Once you know something intuitively, it's like you're not looking for it. It's just you'll see it and you won't be able to stay, because you're the God inside you is like, nah, I already know. Even though I really would love to be with you, and there's a part of me that knows that we could have had something. No, because it's like I also know that it would end with betrayal from you, and it would, because this person is empty. And so the illusion is that they will find it in something else. And then when they go to that something else, they won't be satisfied. That's why I said the best that this is going to be is this, because as long as they can't have you, they'll always like idolize you because of that. But that's why they're mad, because it's like they didn't think that they were going to have feelings. So, and the cruelness is not that they would try and deliberately fuck up your life, but it's that they like, well, I'm still going to get what I want. Having a love affair with me, and I'm going to give nothing for it. and you'll have emotions for me because that's how you are. And that's what why the person is like one-sided relationship puts you back into a relationship where you're feeling unworthy and you're feeling abused. No, thank you. Spirit says so you know what you have to do. I'm going to leave it there. Anyone have any questions for me? No, I always like to end off my coaching with breath work or some sort of, healing regimen because when we've been around someone that's toxic, um, and someone that's manipulative, all the reasons that I said in the beginning of this, um, it affects you psychologically, it affects you physically, it affects every area of your life. Well, the nervous system is connected to our spiritual centers. So the spiritual centers are our chakras. They represent the psychological and the emotional aspects of ourself. The chakras interact with the endocrine system and our nervous system. So when we want to recondition ourselves, we need to we need to know healing is something that takes a lifetime. However, you can heal to the point that you actually see great results within your life, that you can see yourself have love, because there was a time that everything for me was a trigger, again, where my mother tried to kill me several times. So everything was a trigger for me. It's like I lived in survival mode. I couldn't learn in school. It's like I can learn now. you know, I had a very successful marriage for 20 years, but if you would have asked my first husband, like when I got married when I was 18, you'd say like I was a crazy person. Because everything was a trigger. We see what we look for. And so, having an abusive parent that made me feel like I was unworthy, not good enough, and like created the environment to make me believe that as well, and like change family. And it was because it was done to my mother. Like my mother was mentally sick, spiritually sick, because she was abused and abused and abused and abused. And then she got married to an alcoholic that got cancer 9 times, literally 8 times. But then towards the end, I think it was 9 or 10 times, like literally. Um, and she had to take care of him. So she felt like bad, and everything was a trigger. Everything was so. Understand, I grew up in an environment where I had to rely mainly on my psychic ability, and I had a lot of habits and behaviorisms that were sabotaging because they were built on survival. So you can heal, and you can heal totally, but it takes a long time. Hypervigilance isn't just changed. If you were growing up with somebody that, really gaslighted you and manipulated you, you were taught to scan the environment. You were taught to pay attention to the subtleties of a person's voice, the way that they look, the way that they stand. You become very psychic. However, you're not learning in school. You're not utilizing the left part of your brain. So try and go through school. They told my parents I'd never make it out of high school because I could not stay present long enough in high school. Can I learn now? Yes, but it's like I have to study. I have to learn. It's like I have to it takes me a lot longer. And because ADHD mirrors abuse, because children can't run away and defend themselves, they detach and disassociate. So when you have to live that way for long periods of time, your brain is not going to focus on math. You're in survival. So you begin to live from that level of consciousness, and you have the gift, but the problem is in the grounding. So you heal, but it's not one healer. A lot of times it's many healers. This way, never get dependent on one healer. You never want to get dependent on one healer because there's not one person. No one's God, first of all. So when I grew up in my environment, my posture was like this, like where my shoulders were like this because I was always getting yelled at. I was always crouched down. So again, to work with someone that does posture, I don't do posture. I need to work on my posture. But there's people that do Alexander technique. You have technicians that do somatic healing because again, detachment. Again, you're not in your body, so your body's holding the score to all that trauma, though. You don't know why you're stressed out. You don't know why your body feels the way that it feels. You don't remember because you're detached. So again, there's the body mind work to integrate the body mind connection back because trauma will again create that detachment so bad that the coordination is horrible. You ever watch a person that been abused walk down the stairs? They have no coordination. They're always like afraid that they're gonna fall. They have no balance. The whole equilibrium is off. They don't talk about that. We don't talk about that in our society, but I know it because I lived it and I see my mother was like that too. I saw the very poor body mind connection. You're always up in your head. It's like that only in the now do you get divine guidance, and that does not happen while you're up in your head. You're up in your head. You're listening to your ego. You're listening to your fear. You're listening to what could happen, what might happen, what did happen, instead of being in the present moment. You have to recondition how you think, where cognitive therapy and shadow healing come into play. Is again because you're taught to look for, the negative things. You're taught to see things from a glass is half empty perception, and then you begin to walk from that level of consciousness, and it's all subconscious. So you can heal, but it's a journey of where you continue to feed what you need to feed, like which is your spiritual health, by listening to a bunch of different people and discerning what works for you, and then doing the body mind work, to breath work. I mean, people that have gone through trauma, they hold their breath, and then they're reactionary. Oh, I didn't mean it. Then they think they're hypervigilant. So it's again, they're living in the past. They have to recondition. That's not a one and done. It's like it's done over time. It's done with love. It's done with support, and like because there's crucial part to every part of healing. Like we don't just heal one part, we have to heal all of it, which is the emotional body. Emotionally, person may need to actually have to process what happened, and have someone like listen to them and give feedback. And sometimes therapy falls a little short with the feedback part. I mean, I haven't been in therapy in like million years, and it never really worked for me because I needed someone to like tell me why. And with therapy, they like you to figure it out for yourself. But by the time I was like, I can't figure this shit out by myself. You figure it out why my mother and father are this way. It's like there's no reason. Well, there actually is a reason. And it's because we're born into karmic situations, and that sometimes our family is not, they have their blood, but they're not family. We get to make our own family. And that's the lesson. The lesson is you choose yourself, that you love yourself. And that's a hard lesson because, hey, who doesn't want to love their family? Who doesn't want to love that? Who doesn't want to love their soulmate? That's the whole thing. That's the challenge. So Spirit says it's all about loving yourself first. It's like because God's inside of you. So you have to love yourself first because that's like loving God first. And this way you're always protected. But these karmic connections, and they could be family, it could be friends and relationships, it's all about learning how to love and not lose yourself at the same time, right? And so it's a journey. Well, I'm going to leave that there as far as the talking part, but as far as the reconditioning of the nervous system, I would like to show you one simple breath technique, which is my favorite one. It's the box breath. And it's because when people have lived in survival mode, they tend to be like they get overstimulated really fast. It's their sensitivity, their nervous system. It's almost like they short circuit, and it's too much thought, too much emotion creates overstimulation, where the person just gets stuck in fight, flight, freeze. So it's like they're stuck. And so the breath work is great when it comes to being able to trigger that parasympathetic nervous system to get that body back into rest and digest, to maintain homeostasis pretty much, right? To help us balance out. And so the way that we can do this is with a very long exhale. The focus is really on the exhale, believe it or not. We do the full breathing, but what you'll notice is that the breath might be a 4 count in, and then you hold the breath for maybe 6 or 7 counts. So you see it like gradually you're holding that breath, and then the exhale is done on like a 10 or 11 count, which is might sound really easy, but it's not. It's because it's that exhale that again is what triggers your nervous system. So it would look something like this. It's really hard to do, but it's that exhale out where it's long, and it's that long, and it's like you don't have to start that high. Some people start like with 4 inhale in, and then they hold for like 5, and then they will exhale out on 7 or 8. You don't have to go that high, but some people go really high within that exhale, and that's like what I said, will really it helps you get back into the present moment. It helps you get back into the body. It changes um the whole dynamic of like how you're feeling. Um and why I'm saying is because there are a few things that you can do out in public. I mean, let's face it. Would you do tapping out in public? Some people, if they were really suffering, they might. But to sit there and to do this whole statement and go through like this and this, like people would, I think that would overstimulate a lot of people just to do it in public. And you can't like actually find a bathroom to go into a lot of times. So the breath work is something that's very easily done that you could do at any time to get back into the present moment. So again, that's a good thing to practice at home. We're going to do one more, and I'm going to do a simple one, which is just going to be inhale for 5, and then hold for 6, and then exhale for 8. So again, that's you can do it with me, and then it's good to see how you feel after, and then you might say before you actually do the exercise, if you're stressed out, you could say on a scale of 1 to 10, what how much stress do I feel? And that's like 1 zero being the least, obviously, and 10 being the most. So you could say, I have an anxiety level of 3, and it could be really small, and it could just be, I have a lot of stuff to do tomorrow for work or whatever. So you would begin your breath work, and you could start with that slow number, and again, find comfortable place. And I would definitely take time out every day to do breath work if you're someone that, suffers from anxiety and suffers from, where you were around somebody that um, was abusive, because it'll train you to get back to being present. Not being present is a habit also. So to be present takes a lot of energy, a lot of times. So it's practice, because the way that we survive, like I said, if it's like you work a job that you hate, obviously, like half the time you're probably on autopilot. Let's face it. So it becomes just easier way to be sometimes, because the world's so bombarding and overstimulating. So again, doing the breath work allows you to get back into the present moment. So you would do, then hold, then exhale, have to say, couldn't even make it up to the eighth time that time. Probably because I worked out, have a little bit of a cold. Um, but it's the practice. But what you're doing is, again, is that you're just stabilizing your nervous system. So does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to know about? If not, I am going to wind down. I want to thank you guys for showing up for your coaching today. That's what this is. If I might have forgotten to write coaching, I don't think that I did. I tried to schedule this to make sure that, coaching would be on. If you guys want to know, again, the next time that it should be on is will be Tuesday, because that's my day off. I will be working. I'm working my side hustle. For the holidays, because come the new year, the company that I'm helping out right now is going to be launching my psychic tours here in St. Augustine. So I kind of have to do this side hustle while, one hand washes the other. So, you know, I got the gig through my business group. So you know, trying to put on a good thing and stay consistent. But if ever there's a topic that, I talk about and you guys want to know more, please feel free to reach out to me. If any, could you have any questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, like I said, I'm going to go, and I won't be on tomorrow because tomorrow is a crazy day, but I will be back on Friday. All right, guys, until next time. Bye bye.